Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Board of Supervisors meeting for Warminster Township for Thursday, November 21st. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Mr. McKee, would you please lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would everyone please remain standing for one moment to remember those men and women who are serving and protecting us both here at home and overseas. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out on this chilly Thursday before Thanksgiving. Here we go with our agenda tonight. It's a light one, so we're going to get right through to our announcements. Before I do that, I do want to announce that there was an executive session prior to this meeting to discuss matters of litigation. With that, we'll go to supervisor announcements. Mr. Monroe.
None this evening, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Frescatore.
Yes, Mr. Chair. I have some announcements on behalf of our Parks and Recreation Department. We have discount tickets. They make great holiday gifts and stocking stuffers. Movie tickets, $9.50. That's quite a bargain. These tickets do not expire. Discount tickets for a limited amount of local attractions are available until December 22nd. Many of these tickets don't expire until 2020. Discount ski lift tickets to Pennsylvania mountains will be available before Thanksgiving. For current prices that are available, you can call the office at 215-443-5428. Tickets are sold Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Dog licenses. Sale of 2020 annual dog license begin December 2nd. Pennsylvania law requires dogs over the age of 3 months must be licensed. Friends of Warminster Park are sponsoring the Hometown Hero banners. They are available. We're pleased to announce that more Hometown Hero banners are being installed along Veterans Way in Warminster Community Park. Anybody who would like to be involved in this program to honor one of our Hometown Heroes, you can contact the Parks and Rec Department, or you can stop by and talk to them about it. Registration opens on December 1st for the following events. Snow Sculpture Contest, December 1st through March 31st. Send your snow sculpture pictures to recreation@warminsterpa.org. Wine and Cheese Designer Bag Bingo, ladies. February 21st, 2020, $45 a person. All right, just some park reminders. We are open from sunrise to sunset. After dusk, you must have a permit or risk being fined. Parks are officially closed during the winter weather conditions. Some of the parking lots, paths, and trails are not guaranteed to be maintained and can be slippery and icy. Please do not feed the wildlife, especially the fox, deer, and geese in the park. Supplemental feeding encourages wildlife to lose their fear of people and become dependent on handouts. For more information on any of these items, please contact the Parks and Recreation Office or visit our township website. That's it, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Frescatore. Mr. McKee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a few. I know we did this last month, but Ken Hayes and Judy Hoover are in the room tonight, and I want to congratulate you on your victory in November and look forward to working with you up here. Congratulations. I have a few other announcements. On a serious note, I want to send out my thoughts and hope everyone in the community will to the Crawford family. They had a fire in their house the other night on Monday night, and they were burned out of their house. And Chris Crawford, who's an old friend of mine, but anyway, went back in to get his children out of the house, and he was severely burnt. So please keep this family in your prayers over the holidays because they're really going to need them. I don't know if anyone knows our friend Teresa Stolzheimer lives over on May Drive, but she's collecting gift cards for the family. And if anyone needs information on that, please contact me. And there's a GoFundMe page set up for them. But really, really tragic. So I want to send out my thoughts to them, and I hope everyone would keep them in their thoughts over the holidays. I have some other news. I was over at the golf course today because it was a beautiful day. Took an opportunity to hit a bucket of balls and got a chance to look at the irrigation project that's going on over there, and it's just phenomenal. Number one, the golf course is still open, and it was quite busy today, as a matter of fact, so please take advantage of it while it's still open for business. It's open year-round, but it's open right now while it's nice out. But those guys are doing a phenomenal job over there with this irrigation system. It's really remarkable how the system works. So I want to give a shout-out to them guys and the people from Spirit Golf that run this golf course are really a top-notch firm. A top-notch firm with employees that really care deeply about the golf course. So thanks, guys. And the last thing I have, Mr. Chairman, once again, November is Men's Health Awareness Month. I'm a fortunate survivor of colon cancer. So I would like to remind everyone to please schedule your colonoscopies. It's probably close to the holidays now, but schedule it for New Year's. You'll need it after New Year's anyway, but please, guys, schedule your colonoscopy. Don't be a tough guy. Go get it done. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. McKee. Mr. McPhillips.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No announcements for tonight.
Thank you, Mr. McPhillips. I'll just have a few, like to join the others in congratulating Ken and Judy on their victories. Look forward to watching you from home in January. So as I relax with my family and you get to talk about Wawa. Good luck. So, no, we'll try to get that one set up for you. Don't worry. In all seriousness, congratulations. I wish you both the very best. Your success is Warminster's success, and that's what I care most about, and that's what everybody cares about. So wish you all the best in your upcoming terms.
Mr. Chair, we did forget about Mary Owens, who won
Oh.
as auditor.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Oh, Mary Owens, congratulations on your appointment
I
to auditor,
apologize.
your election to auditor. It is a backbreaking job. You have to meet once a year for 45 minutes and listen to Greg.
I don't go that long.
It's, good luck. I'll pray for you. But congratulations on your victory as well. I do want to welcome the new businesses that have come to our community here in the last month. The Custom Spot, which does kitchen and bath design, opened up shop at 615 St. David Avenue. American Import Clothing, which is a warehouse business, is at 645 Eagle Boulevard. The Country House Diners at 41 York Road. One Hope Market, which is a gas station, is at 287 York Road. Elite Office Solutions, which is a marketing, transcription, and virtual assistance services firm, opened up at 780 Falcon Circle. And last but not least, at 813 County Line Road is Wendy's. So we'd like to welcome all these businesses to our community and wish them all the best and thank them for choosing to call Warminster home. And with that, we'll move on to our agenda. First up, we have a presentation. I'd like to ask Eric Hines to the podium and for the presentation of Paint the Plow.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
This year's Paint the Plow winning school is Nativity of Our Lord. Please come up and accept your award.
Right, yeah. Yeah, let's get you, do we get a new wireless mic? Try this. You guys can come right on up here. Nobody wants to see us, they want to see you, come on up here. Up this way, and then look at the audience, and you got it, there you go.
Yes.
Yes.
And then the township would like to present you with a check for $500 towards your art department program. And we thank you for participating. Your plow looks awesome. It's out front.
Right.
There you go.
Now it's on.
That's all I
Anybody from Nativity want to say anything? They're doing pictures. Oh, you don't want us in the pictures?
Father Joe, would you like to?
Yeah, would you like,
We're proud of them. We've worked every year for this, so thank you.
so,
Thank you very much.
well,
Yes. Congratulations, ladies.
we'd like to congratulate once again Nativity of Our Lord for their victory. We'd also like to thank all the groups that submitted. All of them were very good. It was a difficult choice. And we appreciate all the community involvement in this endeavor. It's been a great initiative that we've been doing the past couple of years. We look forward to it continuing. On your way out this evening, you will see the plow lit up right here in our parking lot, right in front of where our flagpole is, correct?
Correct.
Please go check it out, and congratulations, Nativity.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. Okay. Now moving on to land use matters, public hearings and ordinances. First up is going to be to consider the adoption of ordinance 759, which is the update to the defined contribution plan. For that, I'm going to cede the floor to Mr. Iannuzzi.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mike.
As you note, up for adoption consideration this evening is ordinance 759.
This ordinance was advertised once at the Intelligencer on November 12th. And it is an update to the defined contribution pension plan wherein it makes the AFSCME/WTEO employee vesting percentage schedule the same as the at-will employee vesting percentage schedule. Very straightforward. So, does any questions?
Any questions from the board?
Just a comment that I'm glad to see this moving forward. When we transitioned our new employees into defined contribution, the goal of this board has been to make them as whole in a pension as they would be in a defined benefit pension. And this is a huge step towards getting them there. So this is really good that we're moving forward with this.
Excellent. All right, so before we go to public comment, let's get a motion on the table. Can I get a motion to consider the adoption of the ordinance as specified?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Any comment from the public on the motion? Any further from the board? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Motion passes 5-0.
Excellent.
All right, and item B, also with Mr. Annese?
Certainly. Up for consideration this evening is for the board to consider a motion authorizing the advertisement of an ordinance approving the Portnoy collection procedures for delinquent real estate taxes, as well as trash, streetlight, and abatement of nuisance accounts. The ordinance sets forth the fee schedule, as well as the collection procedures for the third-party collection entity known as Portnoy.
Any questions from the board, Mr. Annese?
Yes, did we contact our tax collector, Bobby Loftus, regarding this issue? She's been doing the job for quite a long time, so I just wondered if we had gotten any input from her.
I haven't received any input for her, but this is for delinquent taxes and fees,
Right.
not for current taxes and fees.
Okay, but she does do the delinquent ones also,
No.
for the residents?
No.
She doesn't do it for the residents?
No, the
No,
delinquency.
I'm saying, oh, okay, all right, I guess what I meant to say, she does do the taxes for all of our residents. We still have, right,
She collects current taxes. Once a tax or a fee becomes delinquent, it goes to an outside party.
okay, and who's the outside party at this?
Well, right now, it is currently for taxes, the county, and for fees, it is our solicitor.
Right, okay, all right, just wanted to explain that to the public and all that. Okay, so, and how long is the contract for?
Well, the contract's not before the board this evening, but I believe it's actually, I don't know off the top of my head. That would be if the board chooses to move forward, the contract would be considered at the next meeting.
Oh, okay, all right, thank
I
you.
think, just to make a comment here, I think a big concern of Bobby Loftus, as well as my own, is that these individuals that are, for whatever reason, finding themselves, and I don't think we're talking about a lot of people, but what you're talking about is people that, for whatever reasons, are finding themselves incapable or unknowingly, unable to pay their taxes in a timely fashion. And with Portnoy, the legal fee schedules, when you add them all up, I mean, I can go down one by one by one. But I mean, worst case scenario, you're talking about $4,400 plus to these individuals, and that's under a worst case scenario, going through all the different steps. So I think that is a concern of hers as well as mine.
Okay. Any other,
I feel it's a concern also, because if you're already having difficulty, and then you have all these fees on top of it, sometimes you can't get out from under it. So that's a concern for me for residents that are possibly struggling.
okay,
I'm sure our solicitor's doing a fine job, but how much is it costing the township currently?
Approximately, since we've been doing this for the last 2 years, the total cost has been $53,000. The total collected to date has been $55,000, so you're $2,000 in the black, and you have approximately $66,000 outstanding.
Okay, now how much would it cost if we move forward with Portnoy?
With Portnoy, there's no upfront cost. In fact, the residents would pay the attendant costs on the back end as they proceed. We would go up to and including the filing of a passive lien on the property, and it sits there. Portnoy will then take it further and essentially file suit against the residents. And then ultimately, when they get paid, their cost will be tacked on to that actual settlement cost.
Okay, thank you.
Do you know
And
what
just a-
percentage? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Sorry, Brian.
Just to clarify too, and from just having our previous discussions about the way we've been doing it now through our own solicitor, at the end of the day, the expectation is that it would be at zero cost to the township. The only thing that's really changing is now it's a third party that's going through it, rather than these being, these people being able to answer directly to their local government. It's now a third party entity who, by the way, I'm not sure at what stage they would report this information to their, I forget what you call it, the, TransUnion and all those kind of things, TransUnion and Equifax and Experian. How quickly they would be notified of any kind of, action.
All right. If I could I, the representative from Portnoy is with us this evening. Is Kevin here? Yeah. Kevin, could you just come up and, the board, right up to this, whatever that is there. It's been a long year. And can you give us like a 30,000-foot view of how Portnoy handles this issue, and then answer any questions that the board might have?
Sure. Just as a quick background, this is all my firm does. My firm only does municipal collections for municipal entities, townships, boroughs, school districts, authorities. We have over 145 clients throughout the state. Some of the concerns that you have, in a sense, that we proceed under the law that shifts the cost of collection to the property owner. So what that does is a couple of things. It creates, obviously, incentive for people to pay, because if they realize that they're going to have to pay more potentially if they don't pay, many people who have the ability to pay will pay on time. In fact, close to 70% of our clients last year who did a one-time turnover to us for accounts saw a reduction in their amount of delinquencies going forward, because, again, a lot of people have the ability to pay. They choose not to. If there's ramifications now for their actions for not paying, many people come to the table. At the same time, the law we proceed under provides us with a lot of flexibility to work with property owners that actually have potential hardships or needs. So unlike the Tax Claim Bureau, we have more flexibility. So right now, taxes go to the county. The county decides basically what the procedures are. There's no local control. If we come in, we represent the township. So you guys can set the parameters on these local controls. So for one thing, we do payment plans. We have flexible payment plans to enable people to pay over time. The county does not have that type of option that we can provide. We also have a hardship program. For those people who have legitimate financial hardships, whether it's medical or just financial, we have a hardship program for those people in need, and we'll work with them with more extended payment terms. And if people meet the criteria for that program, it's really that their ability to pay is what we accept. It's usually a smaller percentage of the population, but we're not looking to run to sell people's properties to add on fees if we don't have to. The first letter that comes out from us is a fee of $40 plus postage. If someone responds to that first letter, there's no attorney's fees that are tacked on. They can basically cut their losses and deal with that obligation. And many of our clients see close to 50% of the people whose accounts are turned over don't pay attorney's fees because they respond to that first letter. They realize that the township's a little bit more serious about collecting, but at the same time, between some of the positive incentives that we provide through the payment plans, the hardship programs, they have the ability to look online on our website, check what their balances are, pay online if they choose to do that, or the negative incentives where we mentioned that the ordinance that's on for tonight, that ordinance has a list of fees. They receive a copy of those fees in their first letter. So again, for those people that have the ability to pay and maybe we're choosing not to, there's now some incentive for people to do something because those fees are there. But we're all about customer service. We work with people. We actually receive thank you notes frequently from people that we're collecting from. It's usually someone who went through the payment plan or the hardship program, but our staff is, because we only represent municipalities, we're very well trained to deal with the public. That's all that they do, and we really wouldn't be all the places that we're at if it weren't for the fact that we deal nicely with the public. I know Mr. Monroe mentioned credit reporting. We don't do any credit reporting. We don't call people. Everything that we do, we're a law firm. Everything we do is above board. We either send it by a correspondence or by a legal pleading. If someone calls us, of course, we'll answer the phone call or potentially call them back if they leave a message. But we're not dunning people that way. We're not credit reporting. I was on my town school board for 8 years, and we used my firm. And I don't know, you have a nice audience here, but sometimes the people at our school board meetings had a problem with something. There was some type of complaint that they were coming from. It was a good school district. There wasn't a lot to complain about, but the people that came usually had some type of beef with something that was going on in the school district. in my 8 years on the board, they never complained about our services as the tax collector for the school district. So I always took that as a pretty good sign considering the tenor of the audience. And at the same time, when I go to meetings like this and speak to boards, the public generally is behind what we're doing because of the fact that most people pay their bills on time. They don't want to be paying extra as a result of those people that aren't paying on time. And this procedure shifts the burden to those people that aren't paying on time. But for those people in that subgroup that need a little bit of assistance, we'll provide it through the payment plans and the hardship programs. For those people that ignore their obligations to the township, there's going to be potentially some penalties. But as a result of those penalties, I would say that over time, you're going to see less and less people becoming delinquent who had the ability to pay because next time they receive a bill from Warminster Township, they're going to realize, oh, last time I did this, I had to pay more money, and I probably didn't have to if I would have paid it on time. So there's a fairness to the process in the sense that we'll work with the people, but those people that aren't willing to work and don't want to work, yes, there will be some penalties. But again, that's under their control. Every step that we do, we give people the opportunity to pay. We don't rush through the process. Every step of the process, there's the ability for a payment plan or hardship program. We don't shut that off after the first letter. And the reality is that unlike the Tax Claim Bureau, where their teeth in their process is to sell property, which is going to happen probably in 2 or 3 years if someone doesn't pay, that's the final step in our process. But we provide teeth earlier in the process, creating incentive for people to pay. And as a result of that, we don't sell many properties. So in 2018, my firm had about 55,000 accounts throughout the state for all our clients. We only listed for sheriff sale 1.4%. So a pretty small percentage of properties are getting to the point where they need to be listed for sale because people come to the table and either, if they need help, they'll set the payment plan or they're onto the hardship program, or they'll just pay. And from that subgroup, we only sold 45 properties in 2018. So unlike the Bureau, where that's the only thing they can really do to initiate payment, we create the incentives early, and people respond to that well, and thus we're not selling lots of properties because we'll work with the people on the earlier side. So again, I can tell you firsthand from my school district the process works. I've been with Portnoy for close to 13 years now and proud of my affiliation there. We do good work for municipalities, and as much as someone can work with the public when it comes to collections, we do that. And I think our clients would vouch for us. So,
Thank you. Any questions?
Hey, I have one other question. I'm pretty sure Bobby Loftus isn't alone as a tax collector, because I've heard that there's other tax collectors throughout Bucks County that have resisted outsourcing these delinquent tax collections. Where do you, or what have you heard is the basis, like the prime basis for those concerns? Do you have any opinion on that?
yeah, I mean, the reality is it's two different things. I mean, so Bobby is there to collect the current taxes for the township. When the current taxes become delinquent, her duties are terminated for that purpose, and the county gets the taxes for collection. We're the same way. So if you were to hire us for that purpose, her job changes in absolutely no way. She's still the tax collector. People still deal with her for current collections. But now instead of dealing with the county for the delinquent collections, they deal with my firm. And I can guarantee you, we have a staff of 75 people. We're going to be a lot more easier to deal with in the county when it comes to either contacting us to speak, setting up payment plans, the hardship program. So that the tax collector's job is not changed in any way as a result of our affiliation. And the reality is...
Just to be clear, I never got the sense from any tax collector that their concern was about how it impacted their job. They all fully understand that these are delinquent taxes that they're talking about. So, of course, it wouldn't affect it. Their concerns are based on the constituents they serve, the people that they see on a day-to-day people. A lot of these elderly individuals and other people that like to pay on the spot, those are the people that I'm getting that their prime concern is. So that's kind of where my question is to you, that if that's their prime concern, what is it that you're getting from a sense of their pushback? I mean, if you have the answer, that's fine.
Yeah.
If not, then so be
I mean,
it.
to be honest, again, I'm the one who usually generally goes out to new clients to speak with them and to meet with the boards. I don't hear much feedback from the tax collectors because, again, it's sort of irrelevant to what we're doing. Someone's collecting delinquent taxes, so it's really just a choice of who's going to do it. It's not the tax collector. And, again, when it comes to dealing with the public and sort of being able to work with individuals, we can facilitate a lot more than a county does, who has, they're restricted with what they can do. I mean, their payment plan structures, basically, they can take 25% down the first year. That's it. We can do a monthly type of a payment plan. I'm not sure what Bucks County has, but I'm not guessing that they have a hardship program. We have a hardship program. So, again, we can facilitate working with people who need a little bit of help way better than a county can. And it's not a cut on the county, it's just the county proceeds under a different law than we do. We proceed under a law called the Municipal Claims and Tax Liens Act. They're proceeding under the Real Estate Tax Sale Law. That's the law that created the County Tax Lien Bureau, sets forth the procedures. And as you can imagine, a county gets in a lot of claims at once because, in a sense, every municipality that's not using a private collector is using the county. Every school district that's not using a private collector is using the county. And then the county has its own taxes. So the county has a ton of things to collect at one time. And as a result of that, the laws that they proceed under are rather protracted, and it's one size fits all. It's because they have a smaller staff and they got to deal with all these claims. So they send out a bill, nothing happens for a full year, and then eventually they'll list the properties for sale. That's, in a sense, their procedures. Again, we contact people early, and you can say it's tough love, but the reality is that sometimes it's easier to deal with the delinquency on the earlier side when it's smaller than if you wait 2 years. The township's delinquency is probably not the only one in the books. You have a school district delinquency that may be outstanding. Maybe there's other things outstanding. Maybe there's a mortgage problem, and that starts to build up. And then at some point in time, what's going to happen is the property is potentially going to be sold because people weren't passing them early, and this amount built up. So if you contact people on the earlier side, again, if someone responds to our first letter, $40 plus postage, that could be it. So it's sort of up to the individual at that point in time to how to deal with it. But again, a lot of our clients.
Okay, I'm sorry, did you say $40 plus postage for the first letter?
Correct, certified postage. So it's about $5.
All right, so I'm just going to read, just real quick, and I'm going to read this and then I'm going to shut up. These are the fees to be added to unpaid claims. Township hereby approves, et cetera, et cetera. It says legal fees. Initial review and sending first legal demand letter, $175. File lien prepare satisfaction, $250. Prepare writ of Skyr facius, $250. Prepare and mail letter, PA RCP 237.1, $50. Prepare default judgment, $175. Research, prepare and obtain reissued writ, $175. Prepare, can't even pronounce that word, to amend, $100. Prepare and present motion to amend, $200. Obtain vehicle identification number for mobile homes, $100. Prepare motion for alternate service, $250. Consolidate claims, $250. Prepare motions to add U.S. as defendant. I mean, they're getting into a little weeds here, but $175. Pre-trial memorandums, $200. So, I mean, I think some of these, I can keep going on. There's pre-writ of executions, $800. Attendance to sale review scheduled, Again, this is where it comes down to the $4,400, and that's not including services not covered from above at an hourly rate between $75 to $275 per hour. So when you say, $40 plus postage for the first letter, I don't see that listed here.
Yeah, so that's so the list you're reading is towards the bottom of the list. You'll see $40 plus certified mailing. That's on that list. I mean, the analogy is sort of like if you go into a restaurant and you look at a menu, right? Your bill could be everything on that list, on the menu, but
it says initial review, which means initial is the first, and sending first legal demand letter. So that's the very top.
Yeah, that's not the first step, though. Right, that's not the first step. That's the first legal fee. The first letter is not considered a legal fee because it's not lawyer reviewed. It's not coming from an attorney per se. It's coming out of our firm, but that's not a legal letter. So that's not our first step.
That's just first listed under the.
I know what the list is, but I'm telling you right now that's the second step in our process. It's not the first step. So.
I have one more question and I'll be quiet. Okay, so what percentage typically do we have that's delinquent on a yearly basis? We have an average?
I don't have the numbers in front of me. I know we have a very high real estate collection rate, so I imagine that the delinquency is probably in the neighborhood of 1%, somewhere around there. Fees, I couldn't tell you.
What about residents? Would that be around the 1% mark also that are delinquent?
I was talking about residents.
Residents,
Yeah.
oh, okay, all right,
Yeah.
around 1%. All right, thank you.
How many local government entities in Bucks County do you work with?
We have a bunch. If you want, let me just grab my list real quick so I don't want to. Actually, I might have it in front of me. Let me just grab it real quick. So currently in Bucks County, our clients are Bristol Township, Morrisville Borough, Morrisville School District, Palisades School District, Souderton Area School District, which is part of Montgomery, part in Bucks, Warrington Township. So that's currently our list in Bucks County.
Thank you.
I just want to clarify one thing. The fees, lighting fees, trash hauling fees, the county cannot collect them.
By law, the county
Correct.
cannot collect it, correct.
They only
So
collect
that always
taxes.
automatically comes back to us at our expense.
Correct. Only the tax bureau is only collecting taxes.
Automatically comes back to us, and we pay him right there to go after it.
That's correct.
Whereas we wouldn't pay you a dime to go after it.
No. Yeah, I mean, there's, just to be very clear, so that the $40 plus postage I mentioned, that's the only charge that comes to the township. We don't send an invoice for that until we've collected at least that much, so it's not new money. As we collect, you get that money back, so at the end of the day, you get 100% of the claim. We don't take a cut from the township, we don't take a commission. We only make money if people aren't paying, and it takes a couple steps, so.
So
Yeah.
the bottom line is we can continue to pay you, which I'm sure you take the money, or we can bring you on and not pay you.
Correct, correct.
Seems like a pretty easy question.
Yeah.
I take door number one.
And that's coming from someone who's actually losing
I'm
some
not
money.
being
But
funny,
no, I mean, but this is all we do, and I mean, right? You know, it sounds unusual, but this is the law that we're seeing, and this is why we only collect things under this law, because things like an earned income tax, for example, you can't collect under the Municipal Claims and Tax Liens Act, so thus you can't pass that cost through. So, right, if you were to hire us for something like that, you would have to pay. So we only proceed under this specific law because municipalities like not having to pay. They like getting their money. They like getting 100% of their money. And that's actually, there's one other point too I should mention, that with regard to the taxes right now, the county takes a 5% commission from the township as a collection commission. You have the ability to take that cost and pass that cost through to the property owner, and thus, in a sense, save 5% by allowing you to collect 100%. So that's an option, obviously, that's some of our clients like that benefit of actually saving 5% on their delinquencies. So,
Okay.
All right, thank you, Kevin.
thanks for your
Thank
time.
you, Kevin.
All right, before we open a public comment, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second?
All right, public comment. Anybody would like to speak on public comment? This is for this particular issue. That's up next. All right, come on down. I'll call you first, I promise.
Good evening, everyone. Ken Hayes, Lingo Drive. So I just wanted to be clear, because just for my own reference here. So if you're delinquent, and then it would go to this company here, now, they're going to attach fees that whoever's delinquent will be paying, correct? Regardless of hardship and all that. Are the county fees attached to that as well? Are there more fees accrued, like through the county and the collection agency as well?
You would be doing 100% with Portnoy, so there should be no actual county fees, correct?
Right, during the process now, the county.
Please come up, Kevin.
Yeah, they can't hear you at home otherwise.
Yeah, right now, that under the county's process, right, they charge a commission, but they also charge fees to the property owner. Those fees wouldn't be incurred because they're not doing that work, so it would be our fees instead of their fees, if that answers the question.
Okay. So my next question is for the hardship. Well, you might want
Kevin,
to
stay right here.
Yeah. So for the hardship, are all your fees, so after that first $40, and say for whatever reason, financial or medical or whatever, someone's having a hardship to pay their taxes, right? So, in your payment plan, are all those fees incorporated in? Like, what is the percentage that you charge for setting up a hardship plan?
Good question. So if someone meets the hardship criteria, and we actually have sort of look at hardships in two ways. We have temporary hardships, maybe someone has just like lost their job and they're looking to get back on their feet, maybe a short illness or something like that. We call that like a hardship 2 in a sense, and we sort of set that a certain amount of time to potentially pay, and then we'll reassess it after that time. So we'll give them a period longer than, our typical payment plans are 6 months. So if you're not a hardship situation and you want a payment plan, we have payment plans up to 6 months depending on how much is owed, and there could be a fee up to $50 for a 6-month payment plan depending upon the choice of that. If it's a hardship, there's absolutely no fees that are added to it except for that $40 plus postage initially because we sent out that first letter. If you fit the hardship criteria, no fees going forward. You know, you obviously have to meet your agreement in a sense, but you know, a hardship 2 would be something where it's temporary. We'll sort of cap it to a certain amount of time, reassess after that time, see if the person's back on their feet. There's some hardships that are permanent hardships, like it's not going to change. And those hardships, we accept essentially what the person has the ability to pay. It's usually a very small percentage of the people that we're collecting from, but we're not looking to make the people we represent look bad. So again, we'll just sort of let it sit. We'll probably put a lien on the property and let it sit. And hopefully they'll make the payments that they're agreeing to, but it's generally need-based of what they can pay. So again, someone responds,
No interest on top of the delinquent amount.
oh, well, there's interest coming to the township, right? Once the lien is filed, there's always interest.
Okay, but if there's, so you file a lien regardless, if you're on hardship, you make.
It depends.
And, you're delinquent, you file hardship, so there's automatically a lien?
It would be by agreement. We wouldn't charge any fees with regards to the lien, but I mean, if it's gonna be a hardship for maybe, over a year or something like that, the lien needs to be filed to protect the interest of the township. I mean, if you don't have a lien on the property, there's some risk at that point in time, and depending upon what kind of collection it is, that lien can actually go away, and their lien could be lost. So you need to sort of file a lien with a certain amount of time to protect the township's interest, but we won't put any attorney's fees on that. We're not making money off the hardship cases.
So I'm looking at it as on the resident side. So it takes a while. You're not gonna actually go in if, your first initial notice, and then if somebody's making arrangements, you attach a lien to the property?
No, it's all within the conversation. We would talk to them about what we can do and how to help them out. But I mean, again, these are things like the county doesn't have the ability to do these types of things, though. So, I mean, again, we're gonna work with them and make sure, and again, and this is something to, with all our stuff, when it comes to the payment plans, the hardship programs, the township has the ability to be as involved or not involved as it wanna be. So we're gonna set up, if you decide to hire us, we'll have an initial meeting, we'll sort of go through the parameters, what our payment plan structure typically is. You can tell us, that's a little bit too lenient, that's not lenient enough. We can work with you guys on that, we represent you, so ultimately the township has the ultimate authority how to do it. Same thing with the hardship program. If you want to be involved with the hardship program, you're welcome to look at every hardship application. Most of our clients want us to we'll work with them on the parameters, and then they want us to run with it. Because again, we don't know anyone, so we'll treat everyone exactly the same. Like whatever the parameters that are set by our clients, those are the parameters that we treat our, the people we're collecting with, and these are the rules in a sense, and we'll work with them that way. So, but yeah, I mean, again, you'll see, we actually, we get thank you notes from people, and it's because of those people that we sort of help down those types of situations. So we're not looking to make money off the hardship cases, because again, if we do that type of collections, like, we wouldn't be in 145 different places, and we wouldn't be here very long, because the people that are elected aren't gonna put up with that, so.
Precisely.
At what point do you get involved, like, how delinquent are, like how many days delinquent do you then get involved with?
That's
collection?
totally 100% up to the township when you want to turn over those delinquent accounts to us.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, but probably the same, I'm guessing probably this, I mean, for the taxes, it's easy, because when they go delinquent, they come to us. For the municipal claims, I would imagine probably the similar procedure that you're currently using with your solicitor, we would probably get them then. Yeah, I mean, we don't want like a quarterly bill coming to us and then running on a quarterly bill. Like, that would make no sense. So usually there's an annual turnover for most of our clients. They annually turn over the things they want us to collect, and then we'll go with them for the year, and then the next year, we'll get the next set. So, but again, it's sort of within the purview of the township, how you want to deal with that type of thing. Whatever we get, we get. But as I mentioned, generally from each of our clients, the subset every year is always a little bit less, and that's part of the reason that we look to get more clients, because we know we can service 55,000 accounts pretty easily the way we do it. We sort of want to keep it that level, and every year, because we're doing a decent job, we're getting a little bit less and a little bit less from every client, so we always have room to bring in new clients. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, thank you. So I guess my last question to the board or the solicitor, you're going to advertise this, or the motion is to advertise this tonight, and then there's a 30-day window, I guess, right, for the advertisement?
It's not 30 days, no.
No, it just needs to be advertised once, so this will be
Once,
advertised
okay.
for adoption consideration your December.
So the consideration will be in the December meeting?
Correct.
Okay. Now, are all these details that he's talking about for hardship cases, and you're going to determine, how to proceed with hardship and all that, is that going to be, is that already done?
No.
Or once you appoint Portnoy, then you go through that contract or that type of discussion?
Correct, and those criteria then would be assigned at that time.
Okay,
Right.
thank you.
And to hit on it further, I have no intention of trying to set that policy myself. I would expect the next board to have a large say in that, though I do support appointing Portnoy.
Okay.
But I would expect the policies to be the purview of the board, as is their right.
Great,
So-
I appreciate that, thank you.
All right, Mrs. Loftus, come on down.
Hi, thank you. I just had a couple questions.
Sure.
I don't get anything out of whichever firm you go to, so it doesn't affect me either way. My question is, will the residents be able to still come here and pay Portnoy's bill?
Well, the residents don't come here right now.
How do they pay their trash?
So when it's delinquent, the fees come to your office, don't they?
No,
Don't
they, I just send the letters and file the liens.
Okay.
I have everything
They come in
directed
by-
through the finance
yeah.
department, yes.
Okay.
So they'll still come here?
And that would be my recommendation to continue that, yes.
Okay. Just to give you the idea of the fees for the county, because if you go with them, and that's fine, that's your prerogative, not mine, I will still go to the county, I will still put liens on it for the county, at the county, for the school district and the county. They'll go there, you'll go here. The county charges, when I put the liens on at the county, it's $20. Now, that's a combination of township and county, $20, so they'll still pay the $20. The county charges them 0.75% per month. And then in the spring, they charge them $6.75. They have a year and a half to pay it off at the county before it goes to sheriff's sale, at 7.5% per month. As of today, I only have 158 people left to pay for the
That's
township
excellent.
out of 10,400. And I know within the next month, there'll be quite a bit more come in. I'm just concerned for the senior citizens and for the people that are out of job, that this is going to be a hardship on them. As I said, it doesn't affect me one way or the other, but it'll be a hardship on your residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Loftus. Any further public comment? Okay. Any further comment or questions from the board before we call the question? All right, I'm seeing none. All right, so this is the authorization to advertise.
Correct.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
And chair votes aye, passes 3-2. So, thank you. So this would show up on the next meeting that we have, whatever date that is. in
Correct, it would
December.
be for the adoption of the ordinance as well as the contract engagement.
And then
ordinance.
contract length will be determined?
Correct, it might already be in there, I'd have to look at that, I just don't know it off the top of my head. Typically, contracts like this, though, even if it was for 3, 4, 5 years, would allow for an annual opt-out. in
Exactly,
case the
because if
board-
it doesn't work, we can always revert back.
And there is no issue with allowing the upcoming board to set the policy, correct? Would that need
I'd
to
have
be?
to have a discussion with Portnoy about when they need to have that policy. I imagine if the new board would engage fairly quickly, and we can get that to Portnoy very quickly, that could be arranged.
Right,
yes.
I just, well,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. All right, so then we'll revisit this in the next meeting.
Yep.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kevin.
thank you. All right, now we are up to the public comment section. So I would like to welcome up to, please come on down. And for the record, please state your name and address.
Yes. Hi, Patricia Gardner Kamey, 60 Hamilton Drive in Warminster. And I want to talk a little bit more about the 2016 recreational code. And just to reiterate my aversion to the original code, part of the code that talks about the streets is actually against the state law. So that's one. Two, it isn't feasible for most of the residents to abide by this code because they don't own the property required by the code. No one even knows where the code came from. And the fact that it isn't a uniform code is just not acceptable. It's only enforced by neighbor complaints. Now, I know the planning committee worked very hard on coming up with some ideas to present, which I suppose it'll be in the future. They worked very hard, and I appreciate all their efforts, but they didn't quite go far enough. So I want to go on about that. So as a teacher, when a student is asked, is a dog similar to a wolf or a barn? When the answer comes back barn, the teacher knows that there's definitely some issues there. Well, regarding the township, it's logical to say that if a shed can be built 5 feet from the property line, it is totally unreasonable to say that a camper or a boat needs to be 20 feet from the property line. So the planning committee's recommendation is to put recreational vehicles in the same category as a shed. And that shows some concern. So I just wanted to kind of go through that logic a little bit. Does it make sense? Does anyone in the township have a license plate for their shed? Is it required for a shed to get yearly registration and inspection? Do the people of Warminster Township move their shed all the time and take it on the road? Is a camper or a boat more like a car or a truck, or more like a shed? So that's my concern over that and the thoughts. And I understand that this was a compromise. But the compromise, based on something that didn't make sense from the beginning, perhaps is not the best compromise. So it's kind of like saying that I really wanted to cut off your hand, but I'm only going to cut off your finger. Please remember to thank me for that. So it doesn't work for me. So some of the recommendation is based on misinformation. One gentleman from the planning board mentioned that houses have 5 feet from the driveway to the property line, and that isn't true for the older houses in Warminster. Tons of older homes have driveways that are built right at the property line. If the homeowner of an older house happens to have a driveway that can accommodate 2 vehicles side by side, which not all residents do, then this puts the camper or the boat directly in front of the garage and makes it useless. My home is an older home. My driveway is not illegal. The driveway was created from the beginning, and it's right there at the property line. My husband, he works out of the garage, and we can't keep our camper there. It just will not work for us. We could, under the recommendation, put a driveway to the side of our house on the other part, but that involves ripping out a curb. That involves, the new curb that's lower, putting the stone driveway in. That's all expensive. So as of now, if this were to go through, my camper goes to the street, which really will not benefit anyone. So again, my recreational things have been in that spot for 22 years without issue and with the same neighbor. The complaint against my camper has nothing to do with my camper. And actually on the other side of the fence, on the neighbor's side, he collects his doggy poo and puts it at the dividing line. So it's kind of like an illustration that this is just harassment. So the new law, or the suggested new law, requiring 5 feet to the property line will still make it impossible for a vast number of residents to have a camper at their property. Since that is so, somebody mentioned at the meeting, well, it will only go for those complaints. Well, then we're right back to where we started again, where we don't have a uniform code, and it's complaints and one neighbor harassing another. So I'm asking the board, when they review all this, if they could please consider the neighbors that have their campers right at the property line and they don't have anywhere else to go with it. There are driveways that are built all over Warminster that have nowhere else to go. And a camper, in my opinion, is more like a car or a truck than a shed. And if for some reason the Planning Commission feels that campers are more like sheds, then it isn't a parking issue, and I would ask that my camper be grandfathered since it's been there for so long. So we're a hardworking family, and we did not deserve the harassment that we have received over our camper. And other families don't deserve that either, and I'm hoping that they can be helped out by a new code that can benefit everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
you.
Appreciate it. Is there any other public comment this evening? Come on down, John.
John Priola, 674 Joseph Avenue. I know you guys probably won't like this, but I need to ask anyway. It's about duty tow. I know how much you love it. It's
Can we wait a couple
obviously going to be, no, I can't wait. Sorry, this one's going to have to be answered by
Okay,
you
go
guys.
ahead. Go ahead.
The scenario is, you guys all know I have two businesses in the township, and one of them is doing duty tow now. 3 years ago, I bought Warminster Auto Body, which could qualify for another round of duty tow. The situation is, I was trying to be a gentleman in the past by not asking for it. Situations has changed a little bit financially at the location as far as making enough money. I'm falling a little behind. I need to increase revenue in other ways. One of the ways that I could do it is to ask for another round of duty tow for that location. I have 3 trucks. The current ordinance says that you need to have 2. But technically, because I own both businesses and I have 3 trucks, I could actually lease the other business, the same 2 trucks for the other side for 2 weeks a month or whatever to overlap it. I'm not asking to do it that way, but before I go to the expense of buying the 4th truck and adding 2 at one location and 2 at the other location, I want to be reassured that possibly I could get on or get a little pass until I get clarification that I can do that. So I don't go to the expense of purchasing another truck and coming back and saying, and being told no. So that's why I'm asking. It's in the ordinance. It gives me the right to ask you guys that question, and it's up to you guys to give me the answer.
No, it's a fair question. We don't want to cause
Right.
any expense without need, so.
So it's really a question of law, and I don't have the answer right now, but what you can do is send me an email with what you propose to do. I would turn that over to the solicitor, who would compare that against the ordinance that's in place right now and let you know if you're good or if you're not good, what might have to change in order to make it good. So I can't give you an answer right now.
Yeah, basically-
But I can get you an answer once
Yeah.
we figure out what you want to do.
Technically, a leased vehicle could qualify for a actual vehicle for that business. So if I own the vehicles and I lease them to each side of the shops because they're both corporations, technically I could do that. But what I'm asking is, even if you decide not to, can you give me a little bit of time so I can get that truck, so I can put it on an early part of next year? If I'm not added at the end of the month, this month or December, can I get back on as soon as possible?
That again, send the email over. I'll get you an answer probably pretty quickly, but the solicitor
Yeah.
needs to review that
Because
against the
it's
ordinance.
the applications are due, and due by the 30th, but I know we have a late Thanksgiving, so I would say they'd have to be in on Wednesday.
Yeah, that's
The
a
other-
pretty tight time frame.
Right,
But
so.
we'll get you an answer as quickly
trying
as we
to,
can.
I'm trying to, work around it. I want to be fair about it. I've always been fair with the duty tow scenario, so. The other thing too is I know that we have, the new this application period coming up. I'm sure you're going to get applications from other people that are towing in the neighborhood. I've already had people approach me. Be careful with how you look at who's qualified and who's not qualified, because that's probably part of the reason why we had the arguments before. And I know some people that are questioning how to get on, and they don't own businesses. They're running the trucks out of their houses in the township. So that's all I have to say.
Thank
And
you,
happy
sir.
Thanksgiving to everybody.
Thank you, John.
John.
Thank you, John.
And we'll get that answer for you. Any other public comment in this round? There will be one later. Come on down, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Joe Menace, 997 Roberts Road.
Yes, sir.
Safety issue in reference to the new development at Longstreth Elementary.
Yes.
There's a blacktop walkway that goes from Roberts Road to the top of the hill of the development. Kids have been coming down there on their bicycles, ungodly speeds. They can't stop when they cross Roberts Road. They end up in my driveway and turn around and go again. Fortunately, I was out there a couple times to be able to stop traffic because I could see this coming. After the two bikes come through, a kid comes down with a big wheel. He sees the traffic coming, so he flips it over onto the lawn. I run over and make sure he's okay. Fast forward a little bit, now it's being used as a driveway. We see a car come down the street, actually hop the curb. This is before the milling of Roberts Road. Hop the curb and go up there, park his car in the walkway, and go in his house.
No.
Week later, another car comes down, goes up the whole walkway, turns right, and continues around through the development. This whole thing is,
Yeah, that's crazy.
it's getting to be a safety issue, more for you guys and for
Well,
county
of
line
course.
builders. Somebody should be looking into this. My neighbor suggests, well, they should put bollards up like they did over at the Marion exit.
Yeah.
That's not gonna work, because the bikes can come right down that hill and go through them.
Right through 'em.
I think they need something like a staggered fence, where you have to actually go around it, sorry about that.
No worries.
Where you actually have to go around it. But I've witnessed two things, and about 30, 40 years ago, I witnessed a kid getting hit out there. It's no fun. I don't want to see somebody getting squashed in front of my house again.
Right.
I mean, it's still, you think about it.
I don't want to, but
But I
yes.
brought it up to the township about 6 or 8 months ago. I showed up at the township and notified them. I've called county line builders. Nobody's gotten back to me about it all. Nothing whatsoever. And you and I talked about it some time ago, but
So is.
they've never done anything. And county line, they don't answer anything. We've called county line with trash blowing from over there, under our cars and everything else. We'll send Kenny out, Kevin or Kenneth or whatever his name is.
Kevin.
Kevin? Well, Kevin must be fictitious because he hasn't shown up in 6 or 8 months. Every time I call him, oh, we'll
still
send
own it?
Kevin, we'll send Kevin.
Do they still own it?
Sounds like we need to have a sit-down with county builders.
Right.
It sounds like to me.
Well, I mean, look, I remember when I was a kid, I used to go down the
It
biggest hill
might
I
be the
could find.
HOA,
So, yeah.
actually.
Oh, yeah, that's,
Yeah,
Did the HOA take over yet?
well, we'll look at, Amanda will start that and I'll get involved as needed. It may be the HOA's responsibility now. I can't address the kids, I mean, that's,
no, I think it has to be addressed with county line to do something. They've built this cattle chute of a fence up there, and maybe they can put some kind of a cross fencing in there to stop, number one, the kids coming down, number two, the cars going up there. I mean, this is ridiculous. You can actually see them hop the curb.
That's crazy about the cars. I'm worried about the children too.
Yeah, that's what I'm concerned about, because they end up in my driveway, several times now.
So we don't want to see this gentleman back here 3 months from now saying nothing's been done. So I think we need to address this.
All right, so what we're gonna do here first is determine who's now responsible, either HOA or county builders, correct? And then we're gonna have to sit down and determine, is there any type of, I mean, besides cold weather stopping, and that won't stop them much.
It'll be sledding.
What kind of safety measures can be put in? The car thing, I find that I believe you. I absolutely believe you. It's unbelievable that, that people would do that. I've seen that walkway. That's not intended as a driveway.
No.
So it's.
3 of us have witnessed it, so it's not
Right.
just me.
So if there is an HOA, I'm sure they'd be interested to hear that, because so we'll start there. And I know Mr. McKee will follow up on this, because he will be here 3 months from now.
Yes.
To make sure it happens.
Yes.
But we'll work through it too.
Very good.
And I appreciate you letting us know about it again.
and I saw Kevin Monday, so he's
He
real,
does exist.
okay? For 2 hours
He
I
does
saw him,
exist?
okay? Yeah.
All right, it's been a year, but I'm waiting on it.
We'll reach out to him multiple ways.
Okay, thank you, appreciate your
Thank
time.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other public comment during this session? Come on down, sir.
My name is Mike Gallagher, 343 McLean Drive.
Good evening.
I have a question. I wasn't sure whether the lady talked about the RV vehicles. Is this something you guys are planning on revisiting, or I didn't hear that?
Right. So what's going
confirmation.
on right now is that there's been a package of zoning changes put together. It's been debated before the Planning Commission most recently, a couple of weeks ago.
I was
They had a
there.
big turnout for it. The ultimate adoption of those of those zoning changes is going to come before the new board in the new year. I don't have an exact date yet. That will be up to the new board to decide how to proceed. There is more than just the RV code in those changes, though I understand that is clearly the leader in the clubhouse in terms of popularity. So there's a number of different changes going into that, and ultimately that would be debated at that time. But I don't want to sit here and commit anybody to a time frame that I'm not aware of yet, so. But Mr. McKee and Ms. Frescatore will still be there and be joined by 3 others. So.
At this point, we're not going to get fined $500 for having our vehicles in the driveway.
Well,
then.
just also, the county hasn't even reviewed it yet. You're at the
Oh,
early
okay.
stages, so
Okay.
it's gonna be some time. Everybody's focused on
Right.
a
Right.
couple issues.
And
There's
I
a lot of
tend to-
other issues.
I tend to forget that it has to, not only does it have to go through our planning, then it has to go to
Goes to
county, who
county.
takes their time going through it. So there's many things. So what you've seen come out of that commission right now is their suggestions. It's going to go to reviews. Ultimately, whether it's adopted as is will be up to that board when it comes to it.
Okay.
But it's right now, it's sort of just nothing. The current ordinance is still on the books. It still exists. But I expect that it'll change in some manner. I just don't know what the manner is going to be, what that final space is going to be.
Okay. One other question.
Sure.
Something that's bothered me for several years now. Are they ever going to collect those pieces of telephone poles that they have throughout the township? Are they ever going to take them broken off pieces that are, about 8 foot high next to the new poles? Are they ever going to take them thing out of the ground and get them out of here? They're worse than seeing vehicles in front of people's driveways.
They're stubs.
Stubs. They're all over the place.
I would.
I'm sure these people were paid to put them cell tower things on there already. Why didn't they take them with them?
Right. I honestly don't know the answer to that question because the poles usually fall to Pico, but we can look into it.
Yeah, I was wondering that.
I don't know if there's.
I made a couple of calls. That somebody, one of the texts there, gave me a number. I called them a couple times.
Well, they say anything of interest?
No, they don't even answer the phone.
They usually, after a couple calls, they'll answer ours. But I mean, I honestly, we'd have to find out if there's an actual reason for it, other than they just didn't want to do it.
Right.
I mean, I know that's everybody's default. I know sometimes there are reasons for leaving them there, but I don't know the answer top of my head. We can certainly find out.
Yeah, I'm sure we paid to have the new ones put in. And when we did that, I'm sure
We don't because it falls under the utility code, so they have to pay for it. But no, I hear.
That doesn't come out of our taxes?
Well, the state.
No, it wouldn't come out of, it would come out of the fees you're paying for whatever utility.
Right.
So if it's a PICO, your electric bill is funding.
Right.
Right, there's nothing.
$1, one of them $1 fees you see on there and stuff, and those type of things. Is that what
No,
you're
that's
talking
what, they all go somewhere.
Yeah.
The government
Okay.
doesn't fund anything, taxpayers do everything, so.
I'm finding that out.
Yeah.
So, okay, thank you very much, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gallagher. Any other public comment for this session? We'll have another one at the end. All right, I'm seeing none. We're going to move on to our consent agenda. I'm going to turn that over to Mr. Schuster.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tonight's consent agenda is as follows, and looking ahead, I will be asking to pull items B and D. So item A is approval of the minutes from your November 7th meeting. Item B was for a resolution, which we found out we actually don't need, so I'm requesting that being pulled. Item C would be approval of the Warrington Township Act 537 Special Study change to the Warminster Township Sewage Facilities Planning. This has absolutely nothing to do with our sewage system. This has to do with the sale of the Warrington's sewage system to Bucks County. So this has absolutely nothing to do with us. However, we do still have to review it, which was done by the engineer.
I did review it. It's simply just notifying you that there'll be a new owner, operator of that system, since you guys do have interconnection. That's all it is. Just notify, it's a formality. But I did review the study.
And just for clarity's sake, why do you have to review it?
Because there's going to be a new operator of that system in Warrington, and your system.
The sewage comes to us.
The sewage comes here, so they have to notify you that someone new is going to own and maintain. the
Runs
sewer
downhill.
Yeah.
system. Yes.
We had heard something about the sale.
Yeah. Yes.
So that was item C. Item D, again, I'm asking to have removed. That's an agreement for treatment for spotted lanternfly. There is some tweaking that needs to happen with that agreement, so that'll probably occur at the next meeting. Item E would be Christ Homes Child Development Center, release number 3 from escrow in the amount of $54,673.30 as recommended by the engineer. Item F is Christ Home Shepherd's Crossing Maintenance Building, release number 1 final from escrow in the amount of $42,488.05 as recommended by the engineer. And item G is Wendy's, 813 East County Line Road, release number 3 from escrow in the amount of $117,997.90 as recommended by the engineer. So if the board is so inclined, I would recommend a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exceptions of items B and D.
Motion.
All right, is there?
Second.
No second? Any comment from the public? Any from the board? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
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 And chair votes aye, passes 5-0. Thank you. Now we're going to turn the floor over to our esteemed treasurer, Mr. McKee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to put forth a motion to accept the October transfers and accept the bill list dated November 21st, 2019 in the amount of $1,232,217.96.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any comment from the board? Any from the public? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye, passes 5-0. Mr. Schuster, our October financial statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I've been saying pretty much every month, we are still generally tracking to budget. That does include a sizable deficit. As I've also been reporting in the past, I am not planning on making the pension contingency payment. If you recall, the budget was constructed based on the smoothing method, but there was a line item included that did have in there an option to make that extra payment to bring the police pension up to the market value for this year. Because of the current financial situation and cash flow issues, I'm recommending not making that contingency payment this year and remaining on the smoothing method.
So for the public, we're underfunding the pension again.
Correct. That was all I had on the financial statement.
Moving on to unfinished business. Consider authorization of advertised 2020 Board of Supervisors proposed budget. Mr. Schuster.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At the previous meeting, I did give a presentation on the Township Manager proposed budget. Copies were distributed prior to that. Since that time, there have been some changes to the budget, most of which we knew ahead of time and were incorporated into the presentation that I gave. So the budget that is before you, I'll read off some highlights. It is essentially the manager proposed budget as modified by the memo that was included in the packet. Again, most of those changes were already discussed in the presentation. Since the November 7th meeting, life, long-term disability insurance renewal rates were received, and those were updated. Certain other employee benefits, those rates were received and adjusted, along with the new WEDIO contract and information on new hires. There was also a small adjustment made for contracted services in the line item in Park and Rec Fund to match our current level of expenditures. If the board does adopt this budget, there would be some increases to certain mill rates. And they would be as follows. First of all, on the general fund, there would be no increase on the mill rate. The ambulance fund would increase 0.06 mils to eliminate a very small structural deficit that exists there. The fire fund would increase by 0.25 mils, and that would be to fund the workers' compensation insurance for the volunteers. The Park and Recreation Fund would have an increase of 1.5 mils to fund the increased maintenance and additional personnel anticipated with a build-out of Warminster Community Park, as well as solve the existing structural deficit that is in that fund currently. And lastly, the Debt Service Fund would increase by 1.27 mils to fund the short-term financing needed for the build-out of Warminster Community Park. The build-out of Warminster Community Park would not be able to move forward if the Park and Rec Fund and the Debt Service Fund were not increased. We need that short-term financing to go ahead and pay for it because we're getting the mostly grant money on the back end of the process. Additionally, once the fields and features are built, we do need more personnel to maintain that. And the last thing to point out is the entire 2020 budget, which is before you, is predicated on the sale of the sewer and water system in 2020, with the adjustments to the pension OPEB made accordingly. If there were not to be a sale, there would be a significant deficit in the general fund for 2020. Again, the new board does have the option to reopen the budget if they'd like to take things in a different direction. Our current finances are showing that we would, without a increase in the general fund, have just enough funds to make it through 2020. It would probably be close, but I believe we would do it. But at that point, around that point, we would run out of funds. So that is the budget before you. I'm happy to answer any questions. I did solicit feedback or any changes. I did not receive any requests. If the board is inclined, I would recommend that you advertise the Board of Supervisors' proposed budget.
I just want to go, with the chairman's permission, I have a couple.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, the 1.2 mil increase, 2.7 mil increase into debt service.
Yes.
That is to take the drawdown loan, which we probably have to reapply for at this point, correct?
Correct. The existing drawdown loan, I think, is going to expire within a few weeks, so we would have to find alternate financing. I'm not going to say 100% certain it would be a drawdown loan, but it's the most likely candidate for this
Where I'm
case.
going with this is we, the taxpayers, are going to put this money out because we have to, but we're going to be reimbursed, the lion's share of it, by the state and the county through grants that have been applied for and worked on for years.
Correct.
So to not do this at this time would take all that work and all that grant funding and throw it out in the middle of Gibson Avenue there.
I don't know a way to go ahead and fund the project and move the
Without
project
this.
forward without the
Right,
the
but this is
finances.
refundable money. This is a good lion's share of this is refundable.
Just one caveat on that, when you say refundable, it's refundable to the township. I don't want to make the.
No, not to the
That's
taxpayer.
going back to the
Right.
taxpayer
Right.
once the mill rate is
Okay.
collected.
Right, okay. And then I would just want to hit on again, that last year, the firemen took a hit with their workers' comp, went up a sizable amount, $100,000, I believe. So this increase in millage is simply to fund our volunteer firefighters, which I don't think anyone in this room should have an issue with.
That's correct. We did, 2 years ago, or so last year, shift the workers' compensation for the volunteer firefighters into the fire fund, which is where it actually belongs, and we're looking for the mill rate increase to go ahead and support that.
And the only other, it's just a comment that I have, that there's no proposed increase into general fund because this board took action to proceed with a plan last August to put the township back on financial footing. My advice to the incoming board is if they're not going to follow through with that plan, to reopen this budget and raise the millage to the general fund immediately. That's my 2 cents.
Well, can we throw that out there right now and include that into the budget for December?
No, thank you.
Put it out there, but it's not going to get 3 votes.
Well, I'm just out of curiosity, why is that?
Because this board adopted a plan last August that we took step 1 on, that wouldn't require an increase to the general fund. And as far as this board's concerned, we would like to proceed with that plan and see that plan adopted and followed through with.
Okay, so you just mentioned about underfunding the police pension fund
Correct.
again.
Correct.
You did go out and you indicated that, but you don't want to do anything about it in December of 2019.
Correct. But
Okay.
I do want to do something about it in the very near future through a possible sale of the water and sewer system to fully fund that pension and set up an OPEB trust fund. Because as you know, we have probably around 14 police officers eligible for retirement in the next 3 years. And that is going to be a bill that we cannot pay.
Right, yeah, that's the other blue wave Mr. Schuster was referring to.
Correct.
That's correct.
Go ahead, I'm
I
sorry.
mean, just from a process standpoint, if the board does wish to make any changes to this proposed budget, nothing's prepared for that. So you would have to have an additional meeting. So I would not want to do things in the back of a napkin right now. I'd want to prepare a new budget, have a separate meeting for that. So at the moment, I was only planning on having 1 meeting in December. There would most likely have to be 2. I'm just from a process standpoint, want to make sure if you want to make changes, that's what you'd have to do.
And the law accounts for changes in government like this. I was just reading one about the county today, how the county government's flipping over, and how, what is the deadline if the new board decides not to pursue the sale? What is the deadline for reopening the budget?
I believe it's February 15th.
February 15th.
Thank you.
So the budget has to be set. We have to adopt a budget in the calendar year 2019 for 2020. However, that budget can be modified by the incoming board up to February 15th.
Yes, and the caveat on that, though, is there's still a process that they have to
course,
go
they
through.
have to-
They have to
it's the same
reopen
thing, yeah.
reopen the budget, advertise a proposed budget. So it's not like they could just meet for the first
No,
time on
no.
February 15th and adopt
No.
something. I just want to make sure that's
No,
clear.
I understand.
Clarification, last year I did vote for a 5 mil tax increase to fully fund that pension, by the way.
All right. Is there any other questions, comments from the board before we get a motion and go to public comment? All right, could I get a motion on passing the budget as? Preliminary budget?
To advertise the
Advertise.
proposed budget.
Right, thank you.
Yep.
Can I get a motion?
So moved,
first?
Mr.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further comment from the board? Any further comment from the public? I'm seeing none at this time. I'm going to call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay. Brian?
Nay.
And the chair votes aye. The budget passes 3-2.
Preliminary for advertising.
Preliminary advertised budget passes 3-2, which then may be redone in the next year, but we'll take it one at a time. So at our next meeting, whichever date in December it is, we would then, would consider the passing of the budget.
That is correct. On December 19th, you would consider that. Also bear in mind, and this is included in your budget, there are some limitations on changes that you can make to the
Right,
budget
it's
at that
10%,
point.
yeah.
Yes.
Yep, okay. All right, so December 19th, good times. All right, moving on to our next agenda item is new business. This is the appointment of a zoning hearing board member, Mr. Schuster. We had a resignation recently.
Yes, Jane Lynch did resign from the zoning hearing board. The term that she's in goes to, or expires in 2022, so it is available for appointment.
All right. Is there any nominations for the replacement of Mrs. Lynch?
I'll nominate Bob Welsh. I think he's the only one who applied?
He's the only one I got a letter of interest for. To be fair, though, nothing was ever put out soliciting any letters.
Is,
On that note, I mean, this resignation was how long ago?
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
So about 2 weeks ago. And I did not see anything in my documentation up until today. So, I mean, I have to refresh it until I get it through my iPad. So it was this morning when I finally saw it, but as of like 2 days ago or so, it was just blank. As far as I know, nothing was put out to garner interest with respect to this position. And I mean, my memory serves, when these types of things pop up, normally we follow those procedures, and especially when we're this close to a reorganization. In the past, because I know that I've asked for things, I was always told that we usually hold those things off into reorg. So I just find it a little curious.
Well, we can definitely do that, Brian. The vote's going to be the same in a month from now. It's up to you. I can go either way with you. This position came up still under our watch. You will have you have plenty of decisions to worry about when you're at your new position up the county. But the new board will have plenty of positions to fill. I had not anticipated this position to come available. It became available.
Sorry. So what you just said was that you could postpone this until December. For all you know, you could get 30 of the most qualified people in our community to submit their names for this, and nothing is going to change. And I'm just wondering, why is that?
Because I believe the best person for this position is the person that Mr. McPhillips nominated. Now, if somebody, I find it, I mean, appalling that you're going to sit here and pull this with me right now, that you're going to say that everything is, that the appointments that are going to happen on January 6th have nothing to do with anything other than they're absolutely the best people for the job. So if we're going to do this, I'll
going off of past practice.
Right. No, we have done it both ways. And Mr. Monroe, you were notified of this of this resignation, because Mrs. Lynch resigned in an email to you and Mr. McKee, not to me. And so you were aware of it at this point.
Absolutely.
Right.
I just wasn't aware that we put anything out to the general public, because, I mean, that's typically what we had usually done in the past.
We chose to do it this way.
And for the record, I've got no, Mr. Welsh.
I know it has nothing to do with Mr. Welsh, yes.
Yeah. I am not calling into questions any kind of experience that he may or may not bring. I
Right.
you know, and I personally like him, but
Right.
my more issue is here with the process.
Mr. Welsh is a contractor. I think he knows a little bit about zoning law.
Right.
He probably does.
I think
It's just
understand,
who else has.
to Brian's point, we usually do advertise it, so if anybody's interested, they could apply. I'm not saying anything, I think Bob's extremely qualified for the position, but if there are other folks that are, might be interested, we didn't put anything out there. I think that he's just talking about the process.
And
that's
I
all.
understand that, and you can take issue with the process, and he's welcome to discuss it with me. It was my decision to pursue the process in this manner, and I definitely can leave it up for debate. And in doing so, if you wish to vote against the appointment tonight, I understand. I harbor no ill will towards it. But in my 6 years on the board, I have seen positions posted, I have seen positions just appointed. It is, in recent times, we typically don't have a lot of resignations, to be honest, in the middle of the year. Typically, we have them at the beginning of the year. We have an opportunity to put an individual I think has a lot to bring onto that board, and that's why I wanted to move forward with it now. And I mean, if it's, you could definitely I'll take any criticisms offline with it, I understand, so.
On a side note, I would like to thank Ms. Lynch for her years of service. And obviously, it would have taken a lot for her to have to step down from this position, and she would do what she needed to do, what she felt would be best for herself, her family, and for the community. So I definitely want to thank her again.
Of
I'll
course.
second that too. So she's done a phenomenal job. She's been volunteering for the township for a really long time. We do
50
appreciate her
years.
service. Yeah.
Thank you, Jane.
Yes.
I'm sure you're
Thank you.
watching.
Yes. I'd say we could do something for her, but you did name a street after her, so.
Yeah. Does this mean we have to have yet another retirement party for
No.
Jane? For Jane? I'm in.
It'll be the Christmas party, December 13th. Is there any other nominations? Did we get a second?
I'll second.
All right. Is there any other nominations? All right, seeing none, I'll call the question.
Public comment.
Any public comment? Go for it.
Sorry.
Sorry. I've got it.
Judy Hoover, St. David's Avenue. I just want to get this straight. I'm saying, am I to understand the normal process is to inform the public and wait for
The process
requests?
is whatever the board decides it to be. Theirs is not set in stone. Is that correct, Mr. Schuster?
There's no formal policy in place. The only policy that I'm aware of in terms of what goes on the agenda is that the chairman sets the agenda.
So how did you know Bob Welsh wanted the job?
I asked him.
Okay,
I asked
so-
him. I asked him to consider it.
Well-
I felt that he was uniquely qualified, and I thought he would do a good job on it. It was not a reflection on anyone else in this community.
Well, I just, I have no problems
Right,
with Bob
right,
Welsh. I
right.
think he's a fine man, but I just think it's not very transparent and it's not very fair to the
I'm
public.
telling everybody what I did. I asked him to put in his name, and I think I have 3 votes to appoint him. I understand, and you may absolutely set the policy differently and do it in a different manner. I accept that you disagree with my decision here, and that's fine.
As
And
to
I'm not gonna-
transparency, Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
excuse me for interrupting.
Go for it.
It's right here on tonight's agenda that was publicly posted, advertisement, appoint a zoning hearing board member.
One day ago it
We've-
was on the
we've
agenda. Yeah.
Put
One day,
a motion
one
in
day.
place, and
Yeah.
we've nominated an individual, and I say we call a question.
Well, I don't want to cut you off, please.
I just wanted to say, well, I looked on the agenda earlier this week and it wasn't there, and it wasn't on there, like, I think a day and a half ago when I looked
Is
again.
it not on the
So,
draft?
I just want to say that,
I honestly couldn't tell you.
Okay.
yeah, I just, in my opinion, it just isn't fair to the public not to be more transparent about this and advertise it.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate your feedback. Any other public comment? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Was-
I'm sorry, that was a nay.
Okay,
Nay.
yeah. Chair votes aye, passes 4-1. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. Okay.
Congratulations, Mr. Welsh. I'm sure the township manager will be in touch with you.
Well, let's have a quick discussion, call it audible. There is one other open seat left, and that's on the Construction Board of Appeals. I would like to say now, can we put an email out or something on Facebook looking for people to apply for Construction Board of Appeals?
If the board would like me to do that, Construction Board of Appeals is a plum assignment.
Right. But I
Although we do potentially need somebody.
Oh, really?
There is another application floating out there that would be helpful to have another member on the
So
board at
in
some
order
point in the
to
future.
avoid any of this moving forward, I'd like to, if everybody's on board, we'll put out something and it will not come before us until the 19th. Is everybody okay with that approach to that one? Because Construction Board of Appeals, it doesn't meet often, but it is a very important position here. And I want to make sure that I'm being fair to everyone's opinions.
My official view is to wait for the reorg, and you lump everything into the reorg. But that is not the most contentious board in Warminster. So
Right. Right, like, yeah, anyway, I'm not even going to comment on that one.
But just for the people at home, the Construction Board of Appeals probably meets once every 4 or 5 years.
Right.
It's very.
You ever met?
We've actually met twice in the last 12 months
For the
with
John
the third
Fitch
one.
Museum.
Yeah, with the third one pending right now.
Right.
So they've been on a roll lately.
So it does have a great deal of sway, so we want to make sure. And I don't have anybody I'm asking to do that, so please.
Good idea to post it.
So I'm being asked to post an advertisement for the Construction Board of Appeals.
Okay, thank
Will
you.
do.
I think it's a good idea.
All right, cool. All right, moving back on, professional reports, Township Manager's Report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You have my written report in case there are any questions. Just want to highlight, we did put out a press release and stuff on social media earlier about our new electric vehicle charging station at Warminster Community Park. That is open and ready to go. We've already had customers there. Just to clear up any confusion, that was funded by grants and also through a donation by Rank Electric. So this is at no cost to the taxpayer. The fees, however, are done through a third party, and that's simply to pay for the maintenance and, more importantly, the electricity of that station. So we hope everyone enjoys using that charging station.
Is it like digital, like digital payment?
It's used through ChargePoint, which I think is an app that you can use through your phone.
I don't have an electric car, so.
Yeah. But it's pretty user-friendly from what I understand.
Okay, cool.
And other than that, just wanted to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Schuster?
Thank you, Mr. Schuster.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Greg.
All right, Solicitors Report, Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Our report was submitted on November 14, 2019. We're more than happy to field any questions. Just want to commend the board's attention that we set forth there, the status of our trash and light efforts to collect, as well as some detailed analysis as to our where we're at with our land development applications and the like, and other things. But that's just kind of the high points of the high points.
Any questions for our solicitor? All right, seeing none. It's showtime. Mr. Kennard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You have our November engineers report. There's 2 items that may appear at your December meeting. They first have to go to Planning Commission. Christ Home is actually moving forward with Phase 3 of their campus expansion. I'm not sure when the first plan was approved, Phase 1, it was many years ago, but Phase 3 was contemplated. They are going to move forward with some change to that, so it's not a complete new application. Planning Commission should see that at their December 10th meeting, and then you may see it at your last meeting or your only meeting in December. The other project that will be probably appearing before you in December is Mara 1020 West Bristol Road. That is the medical office building at Bristol and York that has been sitting around waiting for all those improvements with PennDOT. They got their act together, and I anticipate you'll most likely be approving that. They're ready to go finally.
When do you think we'll see them?
Your December meeting.
December
We'll
meeting?
try to have
Oh,
both
good.
of them on the same, so.
Oh, okay, I can ask that, yeah.
Go ahead. Oh, sorry.
Finish your report, yeah.
And then Lidl is, I guess, Amanda just told me they submitted their building permit plans, and our construction plans are almost done. So I'm not sure yet if they're going to try to start during the winter, weather permitting, but they're real close.
If they don't, do you think we can have them go over and run the street sweeper through that parking lot? Because I'm getting complaints about what a mess it is.
Okay, we can talk about that at a
If they're not going to start
meeting.
construction for a few months, at least they can
Okay.
give their property
Okay.
a little cleanup.
And then also the 911 York Road, they are also really close to, in fact, they do want to start construction here in the next month or so. At least do some site work, and they're not going to be building construction. That will be in 2020, but they'd like to do some site work with that retirement village community, if weather permitting. And that's all I have. Open up to any questions.
I think Mr. McPhillips had one.
Yeah, what's the latest with Weiss?
I haven't gotten an update on if Amanda has.
So we have signed land development plans and escrow and their LOC for their construction escrow, but that's about as far as we've gotten from them, so.
Okay.
We have all the financials. We don't have any building permits or anything approved for them. They haven't made contact with the building department again, but when they submitted all their agreements, I did respond back and give them their letter from like 2015 for their building permits, but again, we haven't gotten anything from them.
So they're paying their bills, but the place is
They're
just
ready to
sitting.
go. We're ready to go.
And all the
Everything.
documentation's
Everything's
in
ready to
order.
go.
And it's
Except for
the
the building
supermarket
permit.
and the gas station?
Yeah, everything's financially set and they can start construction as soon as they start getting their permits and be ready to go.
Okay.
But we're just, again, they're just funding stuff and sitting.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Kenner?
This comment, just thank you for the report.
Welcome.
All right, moving on. Township manager announcement of upcoming agenda items. Mr. Schuster.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If there's no objection, we'll cancel the December 5th meeting. Mr. Kennard already talked about the two potential land developments. Everything else is really just finishing up from actions you took tonight, which would be the adoption of the ordinance for Portnoy and the associated contract, as well as the final adoption of the 2020 budget. And I guess potentially now an appointment to the Construction Board of Appeals.
Right, I mean, if we get letters.
Yep.
Yeah, but, all right, any questions on the upcoming agenda? None, all right. We are now up to the second round of public comment. This is where residents have another opportunity to comment, this time on any issues. And, all right, come on down.
Good evening, Bob Wells, Shallow Avenue. I want to thank the board for the appointment tonight and look forward to working for the township.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Any other public comment this evening? All right, we're going to move to supervisor comments. Mr. Monroe, perhaps last time by phone.
Thank you very much.
Hey.
Yeah, just thank you, and everyone have a happy Thanksgiving. I hope and plan on being there in person at the next meeting in December. So I look forward to it, and I'll give everyone a little story as to where I've been. So tune in. So just thank you for everybody for your patience, and I really look forward to it. So enjoy your holidays. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Monroe. Ms. Frescatore.
I would just like to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, and anybody traveling, be safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Frescatore. Mr. McKee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I'd like to do the same, wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving, and remind everyone that the McKees still have their open house night before Thanksgiving. All are welcome, and it's a very bipartisan gathering, so all are welcome.
Thank you, Mr. McKee. Mr. McPhillips.
Piggyback off of Kathy and Mark and wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah. And for myself, not to be unoriginal, but happy Thanksgiving. Please be safe driving. And if we don't see you at Mark's house the night before Thanksgiving, we'll see you on December 19th. With that, can I ask for a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you.